On today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast, Barbie continues its dominance as it climbs up the charts. It just passed Aquaman and Captain America Civil War. Also, finally, there's some light at the end of the tunnel as the writers and the producers have now finally started talking to each other again, and they've even made a little bit of progress. Zach Levi, one of my favorite stars, actually just said something really stupid about all Hollywood movies being garbage, except for his, of course. Did you know, too, that Barbie's not just blown up the box office with regular moviegoers? It's actually, according to statistics, the first time a lot of people have gone back to the movies since the pandemic. And also, Blue Beetle opens this week. Will it be the movie to dethrone Barbie at the #1 spot at the box office? That and a whole bunch more of the John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world. Movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but also giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different from ours. Joining me in studio today is Ray Ora.
I love Mondays, baby.
Jonathan Voitko's here.
Those are all right,
We were supposed to have Robert Meyer Burnett here. But again, last second, he had a scheduling conflict.
It's the shot at the buzzer.
He'll be in on Wednesday, apparently. And of course, Chris Carr will be joining us tomorrow. But it's just the three of us in here today. We're so glad that you decided to join us. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to first talk about those topics I listed off. And then the last part of the show, we're going to take questions from our YouTube channel members. Now, for those of you listening to our podcast, we also have a YouTube channel where we put out several videos every day. And we have a wonderful group of supporters known as YouTube channel members. Our YouTube channel members get access to great exclusive emojis. They get an ad-free version of the show. We do these town halls once in a while. And every day, we take questions from them on our show. Go and become one of our YouTube channel members. But for now, let's get into it, shall we? We're going to start with this. I mean, whenever you have a movie that becomes the newest member of the very exclusive $1 billion club in the history of cinema, just a little over 50 films have ever done it. Think about it. In the 100-year history of Hollywood, only about 53 films in total. Barbie became the 53rd movie to become a member of the $1 billion club. Now, so whenever a new member joins, that's a huge news story. But the surprise, Avengers Endgame joined the $1 billion club. It's a story, but everybody completely expected it. And of course, crossed the even more exclusive $2 billion club. All that kind of stuff. But Barbie, ain't nobody expected that. Margot Robbie told the studio she thought Barbie could be a $1 billion film, but she revealed recently that she didn't actually think that. And now here we are. And it's closing in on Mario and becoming maybe the #1 film of the year. But it just crossed a couple of more massive milestones. As we said last week, it joined the $1 billion club as the 53rd film ever to do it. Well, in just a number of days, it has climbed the all-time box office chart from number 53 all the way up to number 25.
Wow.
And it's still going. Check this out. So in now crossing $1.183 billion at the box office, that means Barbie has passed the likes of Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. It's now passed Aquaman. And it's passed in my opinion, one of the greatest comic book movies ever made, Captain America Civil War. And it also crossed the massive family film Minions to come in at the number 25 spot. And honestly, within the next day or two, it's going to pass Iron Man 3, Fate of the Furious, Incredibles 2, and probably within the week, by the end of the weekend, it'll pass Beauty and the Beast and probably the first Frozen movie as well. It has just been absolutely astronomical what it's been able to do. And it's having legs. In its fourth weekend, it just made over $33 million. In its fourth weekend. To put that a little bit in context, the upcoming DC superhero universe film Blue Beetle right now is projected to make $30 million on its opening weekend. That means Barbie will make more money in its fourth weekend than a major superhero film. Granted, it's not a Marvel film, but still, a major superhero film, Barbie will make more money in its fourth weekend
Wow.
than Blue Beetle will. And you know, one of the big topics we've had around here, guys, is what is it? You know, what is it about this movie? Because I think the movie is quite good. I do. I don't think it's one of the best films of the year. Like, I think Oppenheimer is a lot better. I think Air is better. I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is better. I think there are better films out there, but it's quite good. I enjoyed the movie. I've seen it twice. I like it quite a bit. Nostalgia is something that a lot of people go to, but nostalgia only goes so far, because there have been a lot of movies that come out that have tried to lean into nostalgia that have not had anywhere near the success of this. So it's really a little bit of magic in the bottle. I'm not sure. So Ray, look, you've been saying that you believe, you said it's over. You said Barbie, you said a week ago that Barbie was going to pass Mario Brothers. By the way, Mario Brothers, to put this in context, right now is the number 15 all-time box office film at $1.356 billion. So you've got Barbie that's got about 200 million to go, a little less than 200 million, but 180 million more to go to pass Super Mario Brothers. It now looks like it's going to do it. Are you like, what is it about this movie that is going to make it past Mario Brothers, which I think a lot of us thought was going to end up being the number one film of the year?
Like Chris said the other day, it's like a perfect storm. It just hit the zeitgeist. I think of like like everybody is like seeing it for whatever reason multiple times. I think there's even like maybe people are just going to see it so it becomes the number one movie now. There's a lot of Barbie fans out there. There's a lot of people that love this movie, love the brand, have lived with the brand generations and generations.
Yeah.
I mean, you're competing against maybe, if some families are lucky, great grandmothers are going to see it with their great granddaughters. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where people are going in groups. That's the only thing I could see. No one's watching Barbie by themselves. I don't think so. I've never seen.
You're right about they are going in groups, because when we go to the theaters, whether we're going and watching Turtles again or when we see Gran Turismo, there's always like groups of people there where a couple of them are in pink.
Right.
And they're going to see this in those big numbers.
And you know, and this is not a bad thing. When we've gone, we've seen the groups at the MacGuffins.
Yep, having their drinks.
It's like a girls' night out.
It's almost like they're going to see a Sex and the City movie.
Or it's like
all the girls get together, they have some drinks.
They're at the casino. I mean, they come in packs. They're watching this in packs. Good for Barbie on any other year, because it's going to pass Mario. Mario is going to be the movie of the year any other year it comes out.
Right.
It's just, it hit Barbie. It's steamrolling over everything. Like, and you bring up Dune. No, that's not even it's over. Pack it up. Everyone pack it up.
So you don't believe Dune could make $1.4 billion?
I think Barbie's going to be the biggest movie. It's going to hit maybe the top 10. It might hit 10. I'll say
to get right now, the number 10 all-time film on the box office chart is The Avengers at $1.52 billion. So that means Barbie still has like 320 million more to go to get to number 10.
That will be my dumb comment of the week. It will get Avengers.
Well, listen, I don't think Avengers, I think it's very unlikely. I don't think it's impossible at this point. I mean, I'm thinking it's looking at cracking into the top 15. I mean, I think it's going to bump Mario out there at 1.35.
Maybe even take on Ultron.
Yeah, at 1.4.
I don't see it personally taking on or surpassing Maverick.
Yeah, which is almost at 1.5.
Oh, is it Maverick at 1.5?
Maverick is the number 12 all-time film at $1.495 billion.
Did we ever figure out if Barbie's like outpacing more than Mario? Is it outpacing one of those movies?
Well, it's outpacing Mario.
I haven't had the 7 days to sit down and go through those numbers.
I just don't think I've ever experienced a movie get this much money so fast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's been other movies that got faster.
A number of the films ahead of it on the list. Like, I remember Avengers Endgame crossed the $1 billion mark in like the single-digit number of days. I mean, it was absolutely insane.
What's happening is plenty of films have gotten faster.
But didn't
not
have the legs.
Not many trail off this slowly. It's every week.
Yeah.
It's only like a 30-40% drop. It's
Yeah, because
insane.
Barbie didn't explode out of the gate to the $1 million mark like a Jurassic movie or like a Star Wars movie or like an Avengers movie, but its fall off has been a lot slower.
I'm gonna bring up one more example. My older sister Olive, when we were younger, she would invite friends to come over to watch a movie. It would be the same movie they would watch every time. That's kind of like what's going on right now. Like, it didn't matter as long as it's a different friend, they're watching the same movie.
But now I got to ask, what movie was Olive getting ready to watch?
Teen Witch or Teen Witch. Do
There's
you remember
a movie
that
called
movie Teen Witch? Where it was that redhead girl. It kind of looked like Molly Ringwald, but she was the lead. Teen Witch, and
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, well, you don't remember. That was her favorite movie at the time. It was Teen
Oh,
Witch.
I got it here. Hang on.
What is it? What are we talking
Yeah,
about?
she was also in Karate Kid 3. Here. She was in Karate Kid 3 as well.
You don't remember they had that fortune teller lady?
I don't remember this movie at all.
I think she was in Karate Kid.
Yeah.
But
You don't remember this movie at all? That's Olive's movie right there.
I do not remember this movie
Yep.
even in the least. Although the back of that guy's head looks like it could be Ralph Macchio, but I don't think it actually is.
No.
All right.
Yeah, Teen Witch.
All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? The writers' strike. Now, of course, the actors are also on strike, which is what really has shut down the entertainment industry. But before the actors went on strike, the writers went on strike. And they've been on strike for well over 100 days now. And the biggest frustrating thing as a fan about the writer's strike has been the fact that the writers and the AMPTP, that's the organization that represents the studios and big producers and stuff like that, they haven't been talking to each other. Like, they have not been talking to each other. Over 3 months, over 100 days, and these two sides have not been talking to each other. Well, this past Friday, just a few days ago, the AMPTP and the WGA finally sat down to have their first meeting in months. And according to reports, some progress actually got made. Now, headlines like this are suggesting that the AMPTP finally came back with a counter proposal of their own. Because that is something that the WGA had been waiting for. See, the WGA had submitted a proposal back right at the beginning of the strike, and the studios never even countered. They just said, no, go ahead and strike.
no.
Which I have never understood. Look, I get it if you look, we think what you're proposing is crazy. You're nuts if you think we're going to agree to this. Here's what we propose. At least do that. But nope, the producers just basically said, we are so far apart, we're not even going to bother addressing what you've asked for. And it's been that way at that stalemate for months. But now, maybe a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, as they've actually gotten together and the AMPTP has finally submitted a counter proposal. Now, none of this part is not verified, but the whispers are that in this counter proposal, there was actually a little bit of movement from the AMPTP, like the AMPTP was willing to give a little bit of ground. Because amongst the whole list of all the things that the WGA has been asking for, one of the things on that was about protections from AI, that AI should never get any writing credit, that anything gets written always goes to a human writer, the credit and thus payment and all that kind of stuff. And according to the whispers, it sounded like the AMPTP was actually giving on that. Now, again, no official representative from the AMPTP has confirmed that. No official representative from the WGA has confirmed that, but that is the whisper. And look, that's not enough to get a deal done. That's not going to end the strike this week. But it's at least the first sign of the two sides having a dialogue, number one, and a little bit of movement, number two. Now, let's be clear. Even if the two sides come to an agreement on the AI issue, there's still going to be a number of issues that have to get reconciled before any strike. We can talk about the potential ending of a strike, but nothing can happen if the two sides aren't at least in the same room and talking, and that is now happening. And according to a report in Deadline, they're now saying the WGA is working on another counter proposal to what the AMPTP sent them. And again, they're probably still going to be far apart, but as through this process of proposal, counter-proposal, proposal, counter-proposal, hopefully eventually they get back into a spot where they can both sacrifice something, both give up. You know, my real estate agent said to me, you've always heard the adage that, you know, it's a good deal when everybody walks away happy. I remember my real estate agent when Ann and I were looking to buy our first house and we started the negotiations with things. My real estate agent said, no, that's not. He goes, you know, you've got a good deal when everybody's a little bit unhappy. When everybody's a little unhappy, that means you actually reached a good, fair deal. And I think if the two sides can get to the point where they're both a little bit unhappy, then finally we'll get a deal. We'll have to wait and see. And hopefully if the writers get their deal done, hopefully that will lead to the actors then getting some stuff done, because man, this strike has gone on long enough. This stuff needs to get resolved. We need to get Deadpool 3 back into production, damn it. Mm-hmm. And we'll see how that goes. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Zach Levi. Zachary Levi. Shazam.
Zachary.
Chuck, if you will. Let me be very clear. I love this guy. I've had the privilege of meeting him a couple times. I've shown you images before. He actually came to one of my parties when I used to throw a party at Comic-Con every year. And him and the entire cast of Chuck came. Couldn't have been more delightful. And I've always loved this guy on screen. I think he's aces. I love this guy. I wanted to say all that first.
Usually.
Because even the best of people, and I personally consider Zach to be one of the best of people, even one of the best of people can say stupid things sometimes. You watching this right now or listening to this, you have said something really stupid in the last 48 hours. You just have. You know how I know that? Because we're human. We all do. I've done it. You've done it. Everybody except my lovely wife. She never says anything dumb, baby.
Why do I feel like I do it more often than a lot of other people? Like I have an abnormal rate.
Yeah, maybe you're just above average. That's all. You're just above par.
Yeah. You're in the upper echelon, right?
Yeah.
So during the strike, Zachary Levi decided to make a comment. And I think the part that I take issue with might not be the part you think. Because basically what he said is that Hollywood makes garbage and they don't care. And I want to go into his actual comments here and what he said while striking and supporting the union, all this kind of stuff. This is from Deadline. Zachary Levi said this. I personally feel like the amount of content that comes out of Hollywood that is garbage, they don't care enough to actually make it great for you guys. They don't. Levi said during the Chicago Fan Expo this weekend while voicing support for the writers and actors via EW. He goes on to say, the star of the box office dud Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which by the way is one of the biggest flops in the history of comic book films, continued, how many times do you watch a trailer and go, oh my God, this looks so cool? Then you go to the movie and it's like, this is what I get? They know that once you've already bought that ticket and you're already in the seat, they've got your money. And the only way for us to change any of this is to not go to this garbage. We have to actively not choose the garbage. It'll help. It'll help a lot. Okay. So look, anybody is allowed to have the opinion that a lot of the stuff that Hollywood's putting out is garbage. I don't know that I'd say a majority of it's coming out as garbage, but there's a good amount of garbage. I can't disagree with him on that. But this is the part that I think what he said is really stupid and really unfair and quite frankly, really disingenuous. When he said, I personally feel like the amount of content that comes out of Hollywood is garbage. This is the part where he says, they don't care to actually make it great for you guys. They don't care to actually make it great for you guys. Then he goes on to talk about how many times you've seen a great trailer and then you watch it, that this is it. They didn't care. All right. I have a question for Zach. A lot of people did not like Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I'm not one of them. I like that movie. Mm-hmm. I actually like that. You can take that screen down, Jonathan. I actually like this movie a lot. I mean, it's not as good as the first Shazam movie, but I was personally very entertained by Shazam 2, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I liked it a lot. But you know what? There's a lot of people who did not agree with me. A lot of people didn't like that movie. So my question for Zach is, well, there you go. That means you didn't care to make the movie good for them. Oh, no. I'm sure Zach would say, I cared. I cared about making a good movie. Oh, okay, Zach, but a lot of people said they didn't like it. Well, yeah, but they got to understand we did our best. Oh, so nobody else does their best. Nobody else does their best. Only you, Zach. Only you who makes floppy McFlop movies that, you know, all that kind of stuff. You try, right? You gave your best, but nobody else. Any other movie that's bad or that people consider bad, studios didn't even try. Listen, I have a number of friends in this town who are directors. And guess what? I have a number of friends who are directors who have directed some pretty bad movies. I have some very close friends of mine who have directed what I would consider to be quite bad films. Not all, they've also made some really great films if you're watching, guys, but they know they've made some films that I consider to be really bad. But I can tell you this, you know, even the movies they made that are bad, they poured every ounce of their blood, sweat, and tears, every bit of their effort, every bit of their passion, desperately trying to make a truly wonderful film for people. They're trying their best. Listen, I've been on a lot of movie sets. I have yet to visit a set where it didn't look like the people there weren't trying their best to make something great. They were all trying to make something great. Because listen, Zach, if you're saying they didn't even try to make something good, you guys, the actors, you're part of this. Are you saying actors don't care if they make something great? The writers are on strike. Are you saying the writers don't care to write something great? I think one of the biggest misunderstandings in all of movie fandom is this erroneous belief, this frankly heretical belief that making great movies is easy. Anybody, you just show up and any movie you make will be great. Making a great movie is really, really difficult. And every time I have met, even filmmakers I don't like personally, but every time I have met with filmmakers or visited sets, stuff like that, everybody's trying the best they can to make the best movie they can. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they're able to crank out something magnificent. And then sometimes Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania gets made. But guess what? I have met Peyton Reed. I have sat in Peyton Reed's office. I have talked to Peyton Reed about his passion for Ant-Man. He loves this character. He loves making these movies. And he wants every single time to make something that can be fantastic in the audience's love. But even when this guy who loves the subject matter so much and loves the audience so much and tries his absolute best, you're still going to get an Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania every once in a while. That is quite bad. And again, I love Zach Levi. This has not changed my heart or mind or attitude towards Zach Levi. I think he's fantastic. But I think what he said was pretty fucking asinine. I think it's pretty ignorant and I think it's pretty stupid. And honestly, I have a feeling when he sits down and rereads what he said, he probably didn't intend it to come across that way. But like this notion that, because guess what, Zach? You are part of this industry. You and the actors and the writers, you're part of this. So are you saying that when you show up on set, you don't try? Are you saying when your writer friends sit down to write scripts that they're not trying? Of course they're trying, but it's just really fucking hard. It's really hard. And I think what Zach Levi just said is a really unfair reduction of what goes on in Hollywood. Everybody who puts their name to something wants it to be as good as it can be. But no matter how good your intentions are, no matter how much effort you put in, you think Michael Jordan ever intentionally missed shots? Well, I'm maybe to kill clock in a game or something, but generally speaking, you ever think Michael Jordan ever tried to hit every shot he missed or every shot he put up there? He missed almost half the shots he took in his career. Was that because the other half of the time he wasn't trying? Of course he was trying. It's just hard to put that ball in the net. Anyway, I still love Zach Levi. I probably think he didn't mean to come across the way he came across, but I thought what he said was pretty dumb. Anyway, guys, with that down, we still need to talk about Barbie and the fact that it brought back nearly a quarter of the audience that went to go see Barbie hadn't been to see a movie since before the pandemic and how important that is. Also, Blue Beetle's coming out this week. Can it finally be the movie that after 5 weeks to finally dethrone Barbie? We'll discuss its chances. But first, we're going to take a quick break here, guys, and thank a couple of the sponsors of today's episode, our friends at Rocket Money and MasterClass. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Rocket Money. Did you know that the average person has around 12 paid subscriptions and they might not even remember to subscribing to half of those? If you have no idea just how much you're spending each month, you need Rocket Money. It's this great app that tracks all of your expenses so you know exactly where your money is going. I recently just found out that over 80% of people have subscriptions that they've completely forgotten about. Seriously, think about how many free trials you subscribe to that you just probably never canceled. And that's why I'm such a big fan of Rocket Money, because I was one of those people. When I signed up to Rocket Money, I was stunned to find out that a gym I had belonged to in another city I lived in, I had still been paying my dues to for over 2 years. Also, that music subscription service I use, I forgot I was subscribed to 2 other ones. That's where Rocket Money comes in, because Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. With over 3 million users and counting, Rocket Money customers have saved on average of $720 a year. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, MasterClass. Guys, as a small business owner, I am finding myself having to be in negotiations all the time, whether it's with new contractors, vendors, or even agencies that represent our company. Now, I don't like to go into these negotiations unarmed, so I found the perfect class on MasterClass, The Art of Negotiation by Chris Voss, a real-life former FBI lead hostage negotiator. Taking this class on MasterClass made me feel a lot more equipped and confident going into all these various negotiations I have to do on a regular basis. With MasterClass, you can learn from the best to become your best anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. An annual membership starts at just $10 a month, and you get unlimited access to every instructor, thousands of online lessons, exclusive content, insight, and much more. There are over 180 classes to pick from, everything from filmmaking with Martin Scorsese all the way to cooking with the great Gordon Ramsay. In MasterClass, you will find practical lessons that you can apply to your life and work. So guys, get unlimited access to every class, and right now, as a John Campea Show listener, you can get 15% off when you go to masterclass.com/Campea. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off an annual membership. masterclass.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money and MasterClass for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get into this, shall we? We are still, even though we are in the post-pandemic era, we are still dealing with, and the movie industry is still to a degree dealing with the repercussions of the pandemic era. I mean, there are still a number of people that have not started going back to the movie theaters ever since the pandemic happened. Now, a lot of people, even though Spider-Man No Way Home crushed the box office, a lot of people pointed to Top Gun Maverick, fairly so, for the fact that it was Top Gun Maverick that brought a lot of the older demographic that had been sitting out the movie theater experience for a while, since before the pandemic, to come back to the movie theaters. And that was important and really significant. But it still hasn't been everybody. And now, according to a report, and this story is coming to us from Variety, but according to a report, nearly a quarter of the people who've gone to see Barbie had not been back to the movie theater since the pandemic started. Variety writes the following: Barbie brought sporadic moviegoers back to the theaters in a big way. A new survey from film tracking service The Quorum found. Quorum surveyed 1,800 Barbie ticket buyers in the U.S. over the past 3 weeks, finding that 11% quote unquote couldn't remember the last film they had seen in a theater, and another 11% said Barbie was the first film they had seen in a theater since the pandemic started in 2022. That means 22%, over a fifth, nearly a quarter of the people who had gone to see Barbie, which has now made over $1.18 billion at the box office. It was Barbie that got them to come back to the movie theater. Now, this gives us some insight into a number of things. For example, there have been a number of movies that have come out in the last number of months that hadn't performed up to expectations, and a lot of people asking questions about why. Well, if we're finding out that nearly a quarter of the people who've gone to see Barbie haven't even been back to the movie theater since the pandemic, well, that starts to shed a little bit of light and a little bit of context on some of the movies, not all of them, but on some of the movies that may have struggled a little bit financially when they weren't expected to struggle. But on the positive side, though, here's the thing. A lot of studios can look at this and feel some encouragement. Because look, when we as people have a good experience, we look forward to doing that experience again. Doesn't matter if it's a restaurant you go to, a theme park ride, hell, maybe even sex. When you have a good time and a good experience, you look forward to going back and doing it again. And there are a lot of people who have been abstinent from the movie theaters since before the pandemic. They needed to break the seal, Ray.
Oh boy! Don't.
This was all you,
Ray. Don't Ray this.
This was you. You gave me this analogy
black
beforehand.
out my screen right now. He's talking to a different Ray.
But I mean, really, a lot of people have been abstinent from the movie theaters for years now.
Is that the only word you can think of right now? Is that the only? Let me look at this.
Go on thesaurus.com.
So they haven't gone, right? And now, hopefully, they've gone to Barbie. And Ray, pull up the critic and audience ratings for Barbie now. So hopefully, they've now gone out to Barbie, and now you've got an entire new batch of people in the millions.
And millions
Who hadn't been to the movie theater in years, and now they're back in the game. Abstinent for years, now back on movie Tinder. They're swiping right, Ray.
Oh, boy.
Actually, I don't know. Which way are you supposed to swipe on Tinder? I have no idea. I'm going to go with right. They're swiping right, Ray. They're back. So what's the audience rating for Barbie?
The audience is 83, and the critic is 88.
So you've got this vast majority of people who came out to a movie for the first time they've gone to a movie in ages, and the movie they went to, 83% of them had a good time. That is encouraging for other movies because now you've got an even bigger potential draw. More people are now back in the game. Now, will that immediately translate to Blue Beetle making $100 million opening weekend? No, I'm sure it won't, but it's at least putting more players back in the pool. And I personally think that could be significant. Again, in the backwards, it gives us context because it gives us some little bit of information about why maybe some movies may have struggled a little bit because, hell, we just haven't had the numbers of people back in the movie-going game yet. And now moving forward, a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of enthusiasm because, you know what? People went to the movies, had a good time. You know what? I'd love to find out what percent, okay, out of that 22% of people who went to go see Barbie that had never been back to the movie since before the pandemic, I'd love to know how many of those people then also went to go see Oppenheimer. I mean, they don't have that information here, but I would love to know that statistic. I think that would be really interesting. So I don't know, maybe that'll help Blue Beetle coming up. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be a little bit more of a long game, but the important thing is more moviegoers are going back to the movies again. And if movies like Top Gun Maverick and Barbie can do that, that's good for the whole industry. So we'll see how that all kind of translates. I just thought that was really interesting. All right, guys, with that down, let's now go on and take on today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. If you guys have a question for our show or one of our short videos and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call in a question to 951-268-4259. And every day we'll pick one or two questions to address. And today's is about the upcoming Blue Beetle and its chances to actually beat back Barbie. What do we got?
Hey, John and crew, Dad Jokes here. So Barbie just had its fourth weekend at number one in grossing almost $34 million. Will it be able to hold the number one spot, or will Blue Beetle come out on top? As you previously discussed, Blue Beetle is projected to make about $30 million this upcoming weekend. So, will it be the blonde bombshell or the billion-dollar beetle? What say you, Ray?
All right, man. Thanks a lot for calling that.
Ray?
Yeah, he's calling you out. He's
What
like,
say you,
Oh,
Ray?
man. Never let me forget about it. Huh?
The $1 billion Beetle, Ray. Well, you know, it's
Dang.
funny. So this week we're going to see Blue Beetle. Actually, a couple of movies I'm very excited to see this week. We're going to go see Strays on Wednesday, which, you know what's funny? I think all of us in this room think Strays looks hilarious. I cannot wait to watch this movie. It's actually out of Blue Beetle and Strays. The one I'm more excited about is Strays. But I did a Ask Me Anything live stream this weekend. And I asked the people watching, how many of you, I put up a poll, how many of you are planning on seeing Strays? Guys, only 36% of the people watching said they were planning on watching Strays. 64% said they weren't interested in it. And I was really surprised. I think that movie looks freaking hilarious, but be that as it may. We're going to see Blue Beetle as well this week and kind of stoked about it. Now, the opening weekend box office projections for Blue Beetle was a absolutely miserable $17 million, which, look, there's no way to spin that. That would just be cripplingly tragic. I mean, that would be awful. Now, then all of a sudden, Barbie came out and audiences started getting excited about going back to the movies again. Reference the last topic we just discussed. And then all of a sudden, the opening weekend projections for Blue Beetle actually went up nearly double to $30 million opening weekend. That's what they're projecting. Now, whether it'll get that, we don't know. Maybe it'll be a little bit more. Maybe it'll be a little bit less. But as of right now, Barbie has reigned supreme at the box office for 4 weeks in a row. I think the last film to do that was Mario Brothers. Honestly, I can't remember exactly, but 4 weeks in a row. As every weekend, it's like, will some new movie would be able to dethrone it? Well, now we got to look to this coming week because this is the first time that Barbie's actually in danger of losing that throne. The crown is the queen, the king of the hill.
Yep.
At the top of the box office mountain. Here comes Blue Beetle. So the question is, will Blue Beetle, the $1 billion beetle, as Ray would like to say. Do you know Ray got that tattooed on his shoulder? $1 billion beetle?
Yeah.
Yeah, he might regret it, but he was so sure about it, he tattooed it on himself.
The butt beetle. I got it on my butt. No one's ever going to see it. That's why.
Butt beetle.
No one ever goes there, buddy.
The butt beetle. So, can it? Well, let's look at the numbers. Okay, let's assume that Blue Beetle for now will meet those projections of $30 million. Again, it might be a little bit higher, might be a little bit lower, but just for now, for the sake of argument, let's take that as the projection. Well, that would mean for Barbie to maintain its top spot for a 5th weekend in a row, it would need to at least make $30 million. Well, Barbie this weekend made $33 million. So let's say it even took a microscopic 30% drop next weekend. That means, and it's probably going to be a little bit bigger of a drop than that, but let's say a small 30% drop. That means Barbie next weekend at best is looking at like making $24 million opening weekend. And that's being optimistic. So when you combine the fact that Blue Beetle could make more than expected, and that even if Barbie takes a tiny drop next weekend in its 5th weekend, it still looks like Jaime Reyes is going to be the king of the mountain. It's going to be, I don't got that graphic. Where's that blue Barbie graphic?
Oh, the blue Barbie graphic.
It's not there. Anyway, you ruined my whole setup now, Ray.
Oh no.
I was gonna say it's gonna be the weekend of the blue Barbie.
This was Ray's face. He's like, what?
Well, yeah.
Anyway, it's going to be blue. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yes, Blue Beetle will be the #1 film at the box office this weekend. I mean, again, it's going to have to fight a little bit with Strays, but apparently no one's going to go see Strays. So I'm going to go see it, but apparently nobody else is going to go see Strays.
I do hope that a lot of parents didn't get a misread on Strays. They're like, oh, it's going to be a cute movie. I mean, they've got to see the rating, right?
Well, but even on the poster, they have the dog tag is R-rated.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to put it everywhere that this movie is
you're still gonna get people who are like, I took my kid to this. It's like, did you not look at any of the marketing, the poster, anything?
Yeah,
so are we saying that by the way things are going, Blue Beetle might beat Barbie this weekend?
Barbie's time is done.
Is nigh.
Oh yeah, but if you look into the I'm trying to tell Jonathan, if you look into our folder today, we can have that.
I'll tell you what, Barbie's time is done. Behold, there is a voice of one in the wilderness saying, prepare ye the way of the beetle. Because it is now the Beatles' time to rule.
Is it really the Beatles' time?
It's the Beatles' time, right? It's going to knock Barbie off of the number one spot. I mean, a lot of things would have to happen. First, Beetle would have to have a really underperforming weekend, which, look, even at $30 million, which is projected for it, that would still be underperforming. But it would have to take like drastically less than what's projected for. And Barbie would have to take a ridiculously small drop from the fourth to fifth. Look, eventually, it happened to Avengers Endgame. It happened to Avatar. Eventually, you can't be number one at the box office anymore.
But out of all these top contenders that have gone on,
Voids of the Demeter.
Oh man,
top competition.
You know, way to just stop whatever I was gonna say.
Demeter came
right
in
away, right away. I mean, you know what? If it's gonna be somebody, it's got to be Blue Beetle. There's nothing else coming out after Blue Beetle that even.
I mean, unless Blue Beetle comes in under 22,000, 23,000.
Million, you mean?
I mean, million, yeah.
My God, if it comes in 23,000.
Yeah, 23,000, forget it.
So we'll have to wait and see. Question is for you guys. What do you think? Do you think Blue Beetle, that's the one, that's the film that's going to take the old baseball bat to the Nancy Kerrigan knees of Barbie? Do you get the reference there? Because Margot Robbie starred in I, Tanya? No, too far. I'm way too advanced for
Blue
this
Beetle
crowd.
versus Pink Barbie.
Blue Beetle gonna take out Barbie. What do you guys think? Give us your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, we're now going to go over and start taking our YouTube channel members' questions and topics. But before we do, we're going to take another quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Signing your life away to a big wireless provider is kind of like being trapped on a roller coaster from hell. Sure, it looks like fun at first. They probably even threw in a free phone, but now you can't get off. Month after month of insane bills and unexpected thrills, like overages and surprise fees. If that sounds like your current big wireless plan, it's time to get off the ride with Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You guys know before I came to Mint Mobile, I was paying triple what I am paying now on the standard big wireless plan, and I will never go back. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped right to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to our YouTube channel members and hear what they want to talk about. Jonathan, what do we got?
All right, first up, we've got Matt, who writes, "Hey, John, I saw The Last Voyage of the Demeter, you and like not many others, on Friday. I thought it was really good with great atmosphere. Dracula was brutal. It was also pretty sad."
You know, it's funny. I heard a couple of people write in saying that they saw it and they liked it. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. It's just, ever since I saw the preview for it at CinemaCon, it just looked like something that didn't interest me. And I'm normally a sucker for vampire stuff, but it just didn't interest me. And apparently I wasn't alone because it tanked. $6 million opening. $6 million opening weekend. So clearly I wasn't the only one but hey, you saw it and you seem to enjoy it. And that's all that matters, man. I'm glad you had a good time. All right, what's next?
Jay Superboy writes, "Hey, John, Tropic Thunder is 15 years old. Keep it filthy."
Oh my God, is that true?
Probably. What is this, 20? So it came out.
Ray, look up the release date.
Yeah, because he came out before Iron Man.
Did it?
Thought, or like just before.
I got you.
So look at Iron
No,
Man.
I think Iron Man came out before Tropic
2008,
Thunder.
and then Tropic 2008, same year, but it came out just before Iron Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, I really could have swore that Iron Man came out first. Man, I still remember the first time I saw Tropic Thunder. I think it was at a special screening they did for it for some people at Comic-Con. Because I remember I was with Mark Neville-Dean and Brian Taylor.
April. Let's see.
The guys who wrote and directed the Jason Statham Crank movies.
Tropic Thunder was August.
Okay, so it was just that. So that was Iron Man was April. Tropic Thunder was August.
Okay, so
4
Iron Man
months
did
apart.
come out first. Okay,
4 months
but
apart.
I still remember sitting in that movie theater with those guys and watching Tropic Thunder for the first. That was 15 years ago. Oh my god! It feels like it was. It honestly feels like it was 7 or 8 years ago. Cannot believe it. That's crazy. All right, what's next?
We've got.
By the way, the movie that single-handedly saved Tom Cruise's career.
Oh, I mean, oh yeah, Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
So Drew writes, I don't understand why everybody's so upset with Secret Invasion. Me and my wife enjoyed it very much. I've seen shows much worse. What's a show you've seen that a majority didn't like?
I mean, listen, well, first of all, that is the beautiful thing about the art, is that even if there's something that's great, look, despite what some people will try to tell you, art is not objective. It's just not. Art is subjective. It hits us all in different ways. It elicits different reactions depending on who we are, the type of personalities we have, our backgrounds, all that kind of stuff. And that means there's people out there who don't like The Godfather. That means there's people out there who don't like Star Wars. And there are people who are going to like Secret Invasion because it works for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is one of the best things about art, is that every piece of art that comes out, no matter how good most people think it is or how bad most people think it is, it's going to appeal to somebody and have a meaning for somebody and impacts people in a certain way. Now, I, for one, am somebody who was quite disappointed in Secret Invasion. But I love the fact that there are people who watched it and enjoyed it and had a good time. Something that I liked that the majority of people didn't like. I mean, I can go all the way back to one I like to talk about a lot, which was Life is Like a Wheel. It all comes around. Megaforce. I don't care how many says. I love Megaforce. Also, the Michael Bay film Armageddon. I love Armageddon. And I know a lot of people crap on it, but I love it. Shows. There was a show with, what's that Filipina actress who was in High School Musical?
Oh, Power.
Yeah, but the show was called Powerless.
Yeah.
But what's the name of the girl, the actress? Who's Zac Efron's main thing, and I can't remember her name now. Anyway. Vanessa Hudgens. There was a show on NBC, lasted one season. It might have been ABC, but I think it was NBC. Lasted one season, called Powerless. It also had one of the guys from Community in it.
Yeah.
It had Ron Funches was in it too.
Yep.
I loved that show. I loved it, and everybody else hated it.
Did it have Tudyk in there too? Or no?
Yes, Alan Tudyk played Van Wayne, Bruce Wayne's idiot cousin. And he was awesome in it. Yeah. I wish this show had gotten a second and third seasons. I really do, but everybody else in the world hated it.
You know what? If streaming was available, like if streaming was Peacock, they probably would have continued.
Maybe, but now that you mention it, I wonder if it's on Peacock. I would love to rewatch that because it's only a few episodes, right?
I only saw a couple, but
Guys, if it's on Peacock, you guys really go check out Powerless. I know a lot of people didn't. Give it an episode or two for your brain to kind of adjust to what its wavelength is. But I personally really enjoyed it. All right, what's next?
CJ Rebirth writes, 9 years already since the passing of Robin Williams, and that you did the AMC Movie Talk discussion on his movies with Schnepp and Amy Rose. Some of my favorite movies with him are Jumanji, Aladdin, Good Will Hunting, Flubber, and Happy Feet.
I still remember that day. I still remember we were still shooting AMC Movie Talk at the Stream down in Hollywood. And I remember waking up that morning and getting the news. And it was the first time we started AMC Movie Talk, not with the big theme music and everything, but with me saying a little something about Robin Williams. And I remember being emotionally moved because it was the first time, I think, for me that I really do think it was the first time that a celebrity dying really impacted me emotionally, because your brain doesn't make a distinction between somebody you're talking with face to face and maybe somebody you're spending time with on a screen. I spent a lot of hours of my life having joy infused into my life by the work of Robin Williams and watching him on screen. And I remember that day talking on Movie Talk about the passing of Robin Williams, and I got really emotional. I wasn't expecting that because at best I had met Robin Williams in passing. So I didn't know Robin Williams, but my brain doesn't make that distinction. I had spent so many special hours with Robin Williams. Again, with him just infusing joy into my life. And I never felt that same way again about the passing of a celebrity until Carrie Fisher passed away for the same reasons, right? I'd spent so much of my lifetime with Carrie Fisher. Obviously, when you talk, one of my favorite movies of his is still, well, now maybe my second favorite Christopher Nolan film, which is Insomnia, which he was great. Obviously, I think he won his Academy Award. No. He lost the Academy Award for Good Morning Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
He lost that because Michael Douglas did Wall Street that year, I think. But because Robin Williams eventually won his Academy Award for Good Will Hunting. His performance in Good Morning Vietnam is just ridiculous. His performance in Insomnia, just ridiculous. And all the films that you mentioned too were just incredible. I mean, it's still hard to believe we live in a world without Robin Williams. All right, what's next?
Carmelo Smith writes, I binge watched all of the Mission Impossible movies just so I could catch Palm Clementif, Mission Impossible, on the big screen. What is your favorite of the franchise? Mine is a toss-up between Rogue Nation or Fallout.
You just did the same thing, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Didn't you? You just did a big marathon of the Mission Impossible movies building up to it, right?
Yeah. I still have to watch Fallout. So I just got through Rogue Nation. Yeah.
I think Rogue Nation is my favorite. I think Rogue Nation is my favorite. I really liked Fallout. Fallout's the one with Henry Cavill, right?
Yeah.
Really loved it. The bathroom fight scene in that movie is so well done, so well shot. But I'm going to have to go with that one. And by the way, I think Dead Reckoning Part 1 is terrific. I think it's really terrific. But, it's made over $500 million, but not as high as people thought it would. All right. What's next?
All right, we've got Red One Real Talk, who writes, hey, John, Gran Turismo was a film of two stories for me. I love David Harbour, and the racing may be the best I've seen in 10 years, but I could not stand most of the supporting cast. I wish they scrapped the girlfriend and gave more screen time to Jaimon Hansu.
Yep. Yeah, I was delighted by the film. I did not have many expectations for Gran Turismo. I was quite delighted by it. Again, I think the racing, the movie is not as good as Ford v Ferrari, but I think I like the racing scenes more than I did in Ford v Ferrari. Ford v Ferrari is clearly a superior film, but the racing stuff was actually quite thrilling. I was on the edge of my seat. I was loving it. I loved the main characters, David Harbour, Orlando Bloom. I thought they were great, but one of the things I said coming out of the theater was that movie, which was only 2 hours and 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Something like that. I honestly believe that movie could have been an easy half hour shorter. And one of the things you brought up about the whole love interest stuff, that should have been axed from the movie. I'm sure the girl in real life is a delightful, wonderful human being, but it added nothing to the movie. All that stuff should have been scrapped. Yes, mention the fact that he has a girlfriend or whatever, but all that stuff should have been scrapped. Again, it's Neil Blomkamp tends to do very well with his visual storytelling. Actually, more than very well. Exceptional. But his movies tend to fumble a little bit and struggle with the basic mechanics of good story flow and good storytelling. But again, for me, overall, I quite enjoyed Gran Turismo more than I thought it would. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go check it out. All right, what's next?
Kayak writes, John, you said the streamers cancel even fairly successful shows because at some point those shows stop generating new subscribers. But what happens about the risk of losing existing subscribers who may leave when yet another show they watch is scrapped?
Their studies have shown that doesn't happen. I remember we talked about that last year when it's called the burn rate, right? The burn rate. The burn rates are actually extremely low. They understand that their best chance at keeping subscribers is the new content that gets introduced on their streaming service. Whether it's new licensed material or new original, whatever, their number one strategy for retention is an inflow of new content. Even if that new content is an old TV show, but now it's on your streaming network, or if that new content is a brand new original series that you're putting out. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. At some point, like in the old television model, if 10 million people are still watching CSI, guess what? You keep making CSI because those 10 million people watching are also watching the commercials. That means they're generating revenue and making money. But if you're a streamer and you got 10 million people watching an episode, guess what? It doesn't do anything for you if it's the same 10 million people. You're not making $1 on that show. You're not making any money on that show unless you're a new, exciting show that's getting new subscribers to sign up. And again, I understand in theory, well, if they cancel my favorite show, I'll cancel my subscription. Everybody says that, but the data shows that that's not true. Just like when Netflix said they were going to crack down on, remember this, guys? When Netflix said they were going to crack down on password sharing, what did everybody say? Well, that's going to kill Netflix. I'm going to cancel my Netflix. Well, you already don't subscribe to it. You're just stealing it. But, this is going to kill Netflix. But what actually happened? They had their biggest spike in new subscriber signups than they had in ages. So there is often a really big detachment between what people say we'll do as consumers and then the reality of what actually happens. And, the reality is their studies have shown that when they cancel popular shows, despite everybody saying, well, I'm going to cancel my subscription, they don't. I mean, some people do, I'm sure, but in mass, they don't. So that's just part of the reality that they found. All right, what's next?
Yulatan says, happy Monday, gang. Tech question. Do you use any noise canceling earbuds or headphones? Do you have a favorite for watching movies?
I tend to not like using headphones when watching movies because I like to embrace my environment. Now, it's different if I'm on an airplane. My favorite pair of noise canceling headphones I have, and honestly, I do need to get a new pair because these things are basically, they look like old underwear now. Like they're fraying and they're falling apart and all this kind of stuff. But my Bose noise canceling headphones, which I bought when I was still at Collider. I mean, that's how long, I've had these things for like 6-7 years now. But their noise canceling was unbelievable. It was actually, who was it? Oh, it was Jeremy. Right?
Jeremy Johns?
Yeah, it was John. It was Jeremy. I think it was. Jeremy's actually the one, because I remember I was at his place and he'd show me these new headphones. And he says, you got to try these. And I tried them. I'm like, oh my God. Like I couldn't believe the noise canceling was insane. And so I ran out, got a pair for myself. And where you really notice them is when you're on an airplane. Because if you're on an airplane, which is the only place I really like wearing headphones if I'm watching a movie, like all the noise is gone. And all you hear is the movie. It was great. Now, I'm sure in the years since those Bose headphones have come out, I'm sure there have been improvements. So I just recently thought to myself, you know what? I really need to get a new pair of headphones because these things are like disintegrating. So I got to get a new set. All right, what's next?
Okay, we've got Tyler McCourt who writes, hey, y'all, love the show. Chance to see Ryan's Green Lantern pruned in D3. That's Deadpool 3. Much love from Massachusetts.
Now, he already did Green Lantern gags in the first two Deadpool movies. Like, remember at the end of Deadpool 2, he actually goes back to his past Ryan Reynolds self where he's reading the Green Lantern skit again. Like, so they've already done the Green Lantern gags a couple of times, so I really doubt they'll go back to it again. All right, what's next?
Lori Howard says, how does Rotten Tomatoes make money? Are the ads enough revenue? You've explained how they work, but how do they make money?
Oh, yeah, ad revenue on their websites. They get millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of views every month, and that is exclusively how they make their revenue. Yep, fair question. But just like any other website, they generate by people going to the website, and then ads pop up and they make money every time people see that. All right, what's next?
Al Albus Dumbledore.
Dumbledore.
Yeah. While not Barbenheimer, I'm planning a double feature of Gran Turismo and Haunted Mansion tomorrow.
You know what? That's not the double feature that people are talking about, but it's a nice little double feature. Again, Gran Turismo and Haunted Mansion are both films that I had very low expectations for, and both quite pleasantly surprised me. Again, I don't think Haunted Mansion is great. I don't think Gran Turismo is great, but I went in a movie theater 2 times, came out happy both times. You saw both movies. Would you?
Yeah.
You like both of them, right?
Yeah, I would. I liked Haunted Mansion. I like Gran Turismo a lot more. I think both are good movies. That's a good double feat.
Yeah, I think that's a good double header.
I hope he enjoys both of them as much as I did. So,
all right, what's next?
All right, we've got Radio Mad, who writes, "Hi John, have you caught up on Warrior season 3 yet?"
Haven't started yet. I got to finish off. Well, first of all, my queue is starting to get out of hand because I got to finish off Star Trek: Strange New Worlds season 2, and everybody I know who's watching it is saying is one of the absolute best things on television right now is the new Taylor Sheridan show Lioness with Zoe Saldana. Yeah. Everybody I know who's watching it is saying this could very well be the best thing on TV. And like they're 3 or 4 episodes in now. So I've got to finish off Star Trek. I've got to get on Linus, and I got to get back because I've been waiting for years for Warrior season 3. So I got to get back on that. But no, I have not started yet. All right, what's next?
David writes, I watched Elemental yesterday and was surprisingly blown away by it. As a child to immigrant parents, I haven't felt a movie speak to me personally since Dope.
Oh, yeah.
What is the last movie to make you related to the story or the characters deeply?
Listen, I'll tell you what, as a child of an immigrant, I kind of felt the same way about Elemental. You know, my grandfather, and this is where the movie will surprise you. I thought Elemental was truly a wonderful film, like really wonderful. And again, as a family of immigrants, my grandfather, my nonno, came over from Italy on the boat. My dad was a teenager when they came over. And the story about how, had to leave my nonna and my aunts behind because my grandfather had to come and establish something here first and then went and got them and brought them over and, living as foreigners in a new country, you don't know the language, all that kind of stuff and the differences and maybe some of the ostracization you feel as a part of that. Now, I got lucky. I grew up in a city called Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. That's home for me. The Hammer is home for me. And by the time I was a kid, a lot of Italian immigrants had come and settled in Hamilton. So like a lot of my classmates were Italian, a lot of us had Italian backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. So that was okay. But I would love sitting down and hearing stories. My grandfather passed away a couple of years ago. I'm named after him, actually. My grandfather's Giovanni, so I was named after him. And I would love sitting down and him telling stories about coming over, getting a life established here. And yeah, so Elemental really spoke to me on that level as well. I absolutely love that movie. I think it's terrific. All right, time for one more. What's next?
All right. Barnes Gannon says, how much do you think Mutant Mayhem needs to make in order for Paramount to feel comfortable greenlighting a sequel?
200 million.
Oh, man, but it's only at like 100.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to get to 200 million. No. Now, that's not to say that they won't greenlight a sequel unless it gets to 200. But if you're asking what number do they need to make where they're going to feel comfortable doing it, where I feel like, yeah, they're going to do a sequel is if they got to 200 and they're not going to get to 200, which again, it was a real shame because Mutant Mayhem is a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. The problem is it didn't look like I was going to enjoy it. And if I didn't think it was going to be enjoyable, that means there are other people who didn't think it was going to be enjoyable. And look, they did a good job making a good movie, but this version of the cowabunga skateboarding, pizza eating dudes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's run its course. And I think the very fact that they just put out a really good movie in Mutant Mayhem and still nobody wanted to go see it, I don't know what more proof you need. If you're going to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, get back to The Last Ronin, get back to, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Ronin, get back to the original style that Eastman created. Try that iteration of TMNT and see how that does. Because this Cowabunga dude skateboard riding turtles, nobody cares anymore. I mean, look, that's not me. Look at the box office. It's been out in theaters for 2 weeks. It hasn't tracked $100 million, and it's really good. I've gone to see it twice in theaters. That's how much I enjoyed it. But the numbers don't lie. Nobody cares about it. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big thank you to our YouTube channel members for sending in those topics. Number one, because you gave us really fun, interesting things to talk about. And number two, by being YouTube channel members, you help support what we do here. And we thank you guys so much for that support. Don't forget to come back and join us again tomorrow. Also, a little bit later on the YouTube channel, we're going to have our live open mics. If you want to join us for a live stream, come on back and join us for that. And until that time, I want to thank the people in the room with me. Ray Ora, Jonathan Voico.
See ya.
My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, abstinence.